Welcome everyone to Supply Chain Unchained, the podcast by Navia, where we discuss everything from start to end of the supply chain, all the way from international freight forwarding right down to final mile fulfillment, news, updates, and insights. Today, this is part 2 of a discussion that we're having with Simon Borg, CEO and founder of Navia, and Ruben Huber, the CEO and founder of OceanX Networks. So part 1, we discussed around AI and its short-term or near-term use cases and what that means, and basically educating your staff on being aware of what it is, how to use it, and not being afraid of it. If we fast forward into the future, both of you, where do you see it going? So let's say in the near term, all that operation efficiency, the supply chain, as we call it, gets taken care of by AI. What happens when you can't fill in those lower level jobs and you have to skip to the senior level jobs? What does that look like?
I mean, we talked about that, and I mean, here is of course, in this future scenario, we're looking a bit longer term. We're looking 5 years plus out, and we will have a world where there will be a lot of agents. Okay, there will be agents also with our vendors. It will be more or less the primary interface of how companies interact with each other. In the past, we needed all kinds of mappings, and when it was about EDI messages or APIs. There was at least one side needed to prepare something. In the future, they will interact with each other in a very different way. There was also actually here at the conference quite a few interesting discussions. How will this web of agents communicate with each other? How will agents manage other agents and so? By that time, it becomes very hypothetical because you're not yet there. So we're thinking about that. But I think the core of the questions that you're looking at now is also the human advantage is still on this empathy side that we mentioned last time, on being able to build relationships, to build trust. We handle someone's cargo, we help someone to sell a product and to bring it to its buyer, or we help someone to pick up a product from the seller where he buys it from. So there is still a huge element of trust in our industry, okay, which is very important. You won't just use a robot company to interact with. You want to have trust in a person, and even so there might be automated procurement processes. At the very end of the line, there will be a human being if there is a problem and reaching out to another human being. Okay, the issue we have a bit is that for these kind of people to build this relationship, to understand customers' needs and so on, we really need very much advanced people. I sometimes refer to them as super sales, or as senior sales people, or as consultants to the customer. And those people, they are not born like that. I mean, they get built over a long period of time. They fill in the copy machine. They listen to what other people in the office do. They write a lot of bill of ladings in order to understand how does actually the structure of this work. They have a process. And even so, AI can learn very, very fast. We're still humans. So our learning is still very, very slow. So one of the challenges, of course, that is there is how do we get from people entering the industry. Another issue that you probably can go into in a bit is also finding people at all that want to get into that industry, which is already a challenge today. Okay, but then how do we process them to get there? And at the moment, our working theory would be that we say there is 2 mentors for that younger employee. One is an AI, which has all the knowledge, all the processes, all the historic data, all the experience that is inside the organization, and which can answer any question and can help him get prepared for that. And on the other hand is a human mentor, is one of these super sales that he's working with, that he is accompanying, that he is progressing with, which also might solve some other issues that we have in organization when someone retires or someone leaves. We always have more like kind of double teams, but that's what I would say where it might be going. But a large part of the operational tasks will be fully automated. Here we are talking about the 5 levels of AI here. And they just launched their system where they go from level 2, which is more or less a bit advanced RPA, to level 4, which already does a lot of things fully independently, but where there is still human supervision. But once we get to level 5...
Can you go through those? What's 5 levels of AI?
Yes, I mean it starts at 1 and goes to 5. Of course, I mean level 2 is like what we know as robotic process automation, a co-pilot mode where more or less the AI takes part of that information. Take a simple process where customers' export declaration data gets inputted automatically into your system, gets read automatically in your system, where then you control that data and then you send it off for something. So actually level 2 is already implemented in many organizations, and I guess in yours as well. We had APL Logistics here, they have an own RPA department. They are already pretty versed on level 2 as well, okay? But they're now making the jump to level 4. And we will see where we get from there, because level 5, of course, has also some implications on the legal side. In many countries, there is a legal liability issue on customs clearance, for example, or on other tasks. So you cannot sue the robot.
So
not
agentic
yet.
AI, not yet. I'm sure that will be in the future at some point. So level 4 is agentic AI, and then what's level 5?
Level 5 would be more or less fully autonomous agentic AI, where you really have where AI is more or less running the show. I mean, Simon and I used to joke about where the AI probably manages us. Okay, I mean, if you look here at my courier drivers outside in Shanghai, they are already managed by the AI. Okay, it's telling them where to go, what to pick up, and what to do next, and so on. Might be the same with me. I mean, one of our advantages for Simon and me is that we can build relationships with people. So the AI will tell us to which customer we have to go. How long we have to spend there, what we need to achieve, and we'll even map our route, and we will just be optimized also as an asset, because we have certain traits where we are strong at.
Interesting. I like that. So, and I actually like what you said there. You mentioned 2 mentors and having AI as a mentor for that entry-level person. So AI is teaching the process, and the human mentor is teaching the human element, the relationship side.
Exactly, yeah.
I like
the
that.
empathic element, yes, absolutely.
I like that. What do you think, Simon? How do you see the future?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because I started my career like most people in this industry without a university degree, and very much, was driving from shipping line to shipping line, picking up original bills of lading,
documents,
and then going back to the office to type, airway bills and bills of lading. So it's a very interesting one, because, and I'll speak on this part of the world, Australia particularly. I mean, there's no real formal qualification to get into freight forwarding. I mean, there's supply chain courses, there's international trade courses, but specifically in freight forwarding, there's not. So to Ruben's point, you're almost having to find ways. No, I see there's 2 battlefronts. Growing greenfield staff in our industry has always been a superpower. If you can do that well, if you can get someone in, you can see their potential, you mentor them, you groom them, you invest in them, they become your future superstars. But that can be, I know, we've been in business now for 22 years. I can tell you, I can name half a dozen that I've put 15 plus years into that are our superstars now. Now, how do you speed that up? Ruben made a good point. Maybe AI is a mentor, to speed up. I know myself, when I'm trying to learn something, I'll use AI to learn and it helps speed up my learning process. But the concern I have is how are we attracting them in the first place? How are we literally attracting them in the first place? How are we getting? Why are they? Unfortunately, our industry has never been the big bright lights. It's a huge industry, absolutely huge industry, but we don't have the big bright lights of the sexy tech companies. But maybe we're becoming more like the tech companies. Maybe that's the spit and polish that we're putting on the label of the business.
Yes, I mean, this is also for me something I see in this AI race now. I mean, this is another discussion we had here where we said, I mean, the building of technology, the building of solution becomes so easy. We had the discussion the other day about this N8N, where you can more or less build your own automation processes and your own agents today. And of course, that still requires a geek, inside your organization, or someone who is really open to learn that. But it will become easier and easier. You will do that conversationally. You will tell the AI within that tool to build that kind of agentic solution for you. And maybe much more will go in-house in the logistics companies. Today, we often rely on service providers for our information technology, for our ERP systems, and so on. But if we're honest about it in the future, the basic models, they are almost almost free. Okay, so the base models are almost free. A lot of that is open source, so that will be available. The data is yours anyway. The process is yours as well. The data from your vendors is something that's part of your relationship with them and of your contract with them, so you also get those. And the communication with your customer is also owned by you. So I see maybe there is also a big opportunity to leapfrog this current kind of IT world that we live in our industry. Huh?
Yeah.
So you're saying...
just to sort of iterate further on what Ruben's saying, the power of the few good ones now can overtake the many quite easily. Yes. And we've seen it ourselves. We've never had a lot of resources in our technology team. We've always had very, very good people, but I've always believed the power of a few is better than the power of many. Now that's just been amplified again, because the very, very good ones can do 15 or 15 times the amount of coding. And exactly to Ruben's point, you don't need to go outside the organisation to build. We build specific for our needs now because you can. Yeah.
And I mean, you don't need to be able to code. I mean, this is already where we're at, okay? I mean, I'm at the stage where a few years ago, I would have thought maybe to have a better understanding of IT, I should start coding, because I come from the days where you learned BASIC and Pascal in school, which is a bit useless nowadays. But you're at the time where you have a coding assistant. And again, the core message for me is always, they will never be as bad as they are today. So they will only get better, okay? So if they don't get it right today, they will get it right tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. And then also this kind of the person that has 10-year experience, maybe that experience has actually little value, okay? He wrote a lot of code, but there is no code writing anymore.
And this goes back to the point you made earlier, I think it was Simon, in the previous episode. You talked about strategic level thinking towards the end, and how basically going from an operational, if I'm at an operational level, frontline level, how can I take my thinking to how can I do better for my customers, understand their business better, and go at that level. It's the same with the tech guys, where they can go from how do I write better code to what do I want to write? Why do I want to write it? Why do I want to develop this technology in this way? I also want to touch on what you said earlier, Simon, attracting talent. How do you think we go about that in future? What do you think that needs to look like?
I think I don't have the answer to that yet, actually. I think it's a topic of discussion we're having at management level right now about how do we do that? How do we continue to attract and keep the best and the brightest in the industry? Is it a change in the complete business model of a freight forwarder? And I think it is. I do think there is a fundamental change in the way freight forwarding actually operates coming. I think it's to Ruben's point about being able to portray data to your customers in a way, or become a different level of expertise. Are we attracting data analysts? Are we? I just think I haven't got the answer yet, but I know there's a fundamental change that we will find to attract these people.
Of course.
And look, and the other side of it as well. Again, our industry is not the sexiest industry, but our industry has always been efficiency first. Now, as there is, and there, this big scary word of layoffs that you hear at the Microsofts of the world, the Googles of the world, etc. I mean, there's a lot of very, very talented people that may not have heard of our industry before. How do we attract them? How do we attract them to come into our industry and bring the knowledge and the change that they're used to into our industry? Now, that would be exciting.
No, but I mean, there might also be a lot less jobs in those industries where they are in today. I mean, there is a lot of analyst work and other things that can be automated, a lot of coding work that will disappear. So I think, these people will come available. And then, of course, there is a big change in the next generation, what values they have, how they look at things. Simon and I both have kids in Gen Z, Gen Z. So we know that it's not easy, okay? They have all the tools, they have all the possibilities, but they might not be using them, okay? That's almost bringing us in this ethical corner where we sometimes wonder whether everything that's technically possible will actually really come. Because theoretically, if we're talking about artificial intelligence at level 5, then the human is really having a relatively reduced role. And do we actually want that? We before had a subject of the coffee here when I go to pre-order something, I walk into the coffee shop, it's already ready, I pick it up, and the lady that does the coffees is not really a barista anymore. She's like a factory worker. There is no human exchange anymore. And in many societies, we have a loneliness epidemic where people don't talk to each other anymore, and so on. So maybe it will come a lot slower or differently than we think today. And I think it's very hard to foresee that. If we learn something in our industry also on the digitalization journey since, let's say, the last 30 years, it always went a lot slower than we would have anticipated, because the human element is the limiting factor.
And there have been many golden hammers come before.
Oh, yes, very true.
Many.
That's true.
But, I agree with Ruben. Totally there.
It's interesting what you said about the bakery in the French village, because you see it everywhere. And the loneliness, I was actually thinking about this earlier today. Home-cooked meal, family home-cooked meal. There might be days where, in the future, where everyone's ordering off DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever, some kind of app, a robot delivers your food to your door. There might be a market for just someone.
It's already possible today. I mean, this is technically possible, but it doesn't happen. I mean, when I make breakfast for my family, I probably don't do the eggs perfect, okay? But there's a lot of love in what I do, and my family appreciates when I do the eggs for the family, okay? So, I mean, this is exactly the point. The earlier discussion today about the beer brewing machine, okay, which you can have in your home, where you just throw the 3 ingredients in and it brews your fresh beer at home, okay? Some people still go to the store and buy their beer, okay? So it's the same kind of situation. A lot of things are possible, but they're not necessarily getting picked up by the people.
Beautiful. So the next thing I want to go into, let's take a predictive view. Fast forward 4 or 5 years. Ruben, in your view, what does a freight forwarder look like in 4 or 5 years?
I think this view for the future has not really changed. I mean, we published a book actually in 2020 on the digitalization in logistics, and the thesis there was very simple, that we say the forwarder will become more a consultant to the customer. Okay, will help them to arrange their trade. We already do that today. Okay, I mean we're supporting our customers in their trade. We give them advice in the current mess regarding tariffs and everything. We are really already consultants on transport modes, on landed costs, and all kinds of things. And this role will become bigger, and a lot of the operational roles will disappear. To maybe share a KPI number here that I picked up a few months ago, the team at DHL has disclosed on an investor day that they have about 17% of their staff already in centralized functions, okay? And highly standardized processes and so on. More as a shareholder, I would expect, if I were one, to say they would reduce that. So a large part of all these processes that have been offshored, and I won't say forgotten, but I mean that are already highly standardized, they should get automated with that. But on the other hand, also these offshore teams, there's a lot of opportunities, because language barriers no longer exist. I mean, if AI is good in one thing, it's translation. It's one of the best translation tools there is. There was in the past, translation tools were pretty useless, and now they're really, really good. So that might change the industry as well.
I like that. Simon, what about your view? I'm guessing you agree.
Largely agree. I mean, if you were to wake up in 4 years' time and look what a freight forwarder does, I mean, we're still going to do the same thing. We're still going to move stuff. That's not going to change. I think what's going to change, and Ruben made a good point. I mean, where freight forwarding has always thrived is our expert knowledge on navigating events. I mean, we had recently, obviously we all came out of COVID. We've had geopolitical disruption. We've had all sorts of disruption. That's what a freight forwarder, a good freight forwarder navigates their customer through that, and they help them keep a consistent supply chain. I really think in 4 years' time, so I think that doesn't change, but I think what changes is the expectation from the customer of what you give them in terms of how you present data, how you help them make decisions. If you think about the amount of data coming through a supply chain, we get purchase orders, so we know when there's a trigger for purchase, there's some reason to buy that product. We know how long it takes to get on a ship or on a plane. We know how long it takes to get on the water. You integrate that into a WMS system, so we're starting to know when that's in a warehouse. We start getting into the WMS system and into final mile. We understand when that gets into a consumer's hand. All of a sudden, you've got life cycle data. That life cycle data, if that's treated correctly, that's a superpower. And that's certainly something I'm thinking about a lot. How do you turn that into a superpower?
I mean, you're already doing that to some degree, right? I mean, you use a lot of your customers' data to proactively inform them. And I mean, that's also something where I always mention you guys as an example to other members, because I mean, if you do customs clearance for somebody, you know a lot about their business, okay? And you can really help them to work on their landed costs, to work on their financing and everything. And so I think the tasks will be more complex. And I mean, we're advisors in the end, for trade and for moving cargo, And we're probably one of the oldest industries in the world. Stuff has been moved since ages, okay, and that's our job.
Yeah. So that's what I think. I think there's going to that data inside of our supply chains is going to be what actually can add more value to freight forwarding. I think
totally.
If it's done instead of just being a transactional
becomes a
event
better
of moving something out of B, we can really answer why, how, when, where, and become super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So
as
super
a profession
powerful with that. Yeah, I think so.
Exactly.
I think so. I think and if you take that back to the conversation we had about who are we attracting, I think that can be part of the strategy on attracting new talent into our industry, because that power of that data is it's untold almost. It's literally untold.
Yeah.
So if we can tap into that, the ex staff at the big guys, the Googles of the world, hey, freight forwarding's here, and we are looking for top end talent.
Exactly.
We've always had trouble attracting it, but maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's easier for us to attract top end talent now, and maybe that does propel our industry at a faster rate. Maybe
totally,
it's an opposite.
And I mean, talent will remain a competitive factor, right? I mean, this is just who attracts the best people, who can motivate them, who can pull them along, who can educate them, and who can do something. So that's part of the game. And I think this is also, apart from everything what we mentioned in the last episode, this kind of orchestration of people, processes, and artificial intelligence or systems in general. That will matter. How do you cook? I mean, in the end, we're all cooking with the same ingredients, but I mean, here one guy down the street makes a worse dumpling than another guy. Okay, so that's what matters. So we have to figure that out.
I like it. Thank you very much for that, guys. I really appreciate it. Fantastic insights as always. For those of you who are listening, please like and subscribe, and we will be back with more episodes very soon. Thank you both.
Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure, really, to be there. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.